We're here today with Judy Hall at her beautiful home on a lovely day to catch up after 2 years on her sale of Lighthouse Day Nursery. Thank you for having us, Judy. And it's a real pleasure to be catching up with you today and to see what's happened since and how the process worked and just to get a little bit more insight that we can share with some of our clients.
Lovely. It's lovely to see you again. I can't believe it's been 2 years. It's gone by very fast. Yes.
We managed to get the sale of Lighthouse Day Nursery, 49 place, superb reputation in the centre of Leamington Spa, freehold day nursery. And we had competitive interest, sold to a reputable group operator, and it was an all-round great result, I think. But jumping into the nursery, let's go back, let's rewind. It's 21 years at the time when we were marketing, 22, 23 years now. How did things start?
Well, I had a small daughter. She was just sort of being born, actually. And I'd always wanted to have my own business. So I thought it was a really good... I was a health visitor at the time, so I thought it was a really good idea to have a children's nursery. So we renovated a really large house in Leamington, and we turned the bottom floor into a nursery, and then the upper floor was where we were living. So that worked out quite well because when you start a nursery, you tend to get all babies. It's quite rare for older children to switch nurseries and join. So it was quite good because we could grow our own children. And then we decided to move out. It was quite noisy living above the nursery, if I'm honest, quite long hours as well. So we let the nursery expand into the upper floor as the original children aged. And then we rented around the corner, and we also converted the cellar so we had a better staff room and some office space. So it sort of grew organically over about 4 years, I'd say.
That really resonates, Judy, because there's a lot of operators that we come across who've done similar type of thing. They've grown organically. They've either lived in the nursery or they've grown slowly. And absolutely, you've got to build a baby room up first. And they're the most successful ones, I think, the ones that have been part of the fabric from the start. And then eventually they've moved out and they've added little bits. And like you said, you've made the cellar space into an office. And that's the most successful operators that we come across have gone along the similar journey. What was the thing that you were most proud of in all those years running the nursery?
I think there was a number of things, really. I think the first thing I would have to say, I was always very proud when we got an outstanding rating with Ofsted. It kind of did help validate what you were doing, and you could read the report and kind of go, oh, I'm really glad that was noticed and that was appreciated. I think this time of year is when you say goodbye to your preschoolers, so it does always take me back. And we used to do a little party for them and their parents on a Saturday, and they used to come up and receive a prize, and as a group we'd say how brilliantly they'd done. And I think sometimes I'd look at them all sat there and I thought, oh my goodness, you've come on so much in 3 or 4 years. And obviously the bulk of that goes to their parents, the credit goes to their parents and the children themselves. But you also knew that the nursery had played a part because they'd learned little skills by being around their friends. So I'd learned how to share and turn take and picked up little skill sets, even playing an instrument or writing their name. And I felt very proud to think we've given you a really good start as you go off to school. I do think one of the satisfying things about having a nursery is that you can be proud almost on a daily basis, because there's always somebody in the nursery that's had a little breakthrough, be it they're tying their shoelaces or they have learnt to share a toy or whatever it is. And I think that makes you very proud. And also when you hand the children back to their parents and you see the parents are really, really pleased with what you've done, that makes you proud as well. So it's a lovely job in a way for lots of little wins where you can go home, not every day, but most days thinking, well, that was a job well done.
Difference, yeah. I can relate, absolutely. My middle son has got his graduation ceremony this Friday. Yeah. And it's been interesting talking to some of the baby staff, the toddler staff, how he's progressed through the nursery, the good days, like you say, and some of the bad days, where they're learning particular skills. But there are certain things as a parent I don't think you can necessarily teach, and you just assume that they'll pick up. But actually nursery helps with that. sharing, the social skills, that side of things, and things that you wouldn't ordinarily think that he's learning, but he's picking up from nursery.
Yeah.
He's coming home and you notice that, I didn't realise you could do that. And yeah, I absolutely can resonate with that.
Yeah.
We talked about the proud things from ownership. What was your favourite thing?
I would say my favourite thing would be, I used to do a number of walk rounds a day just to check everything was okay. And I think my favourite thing was if I'd come out of my office and I'd poke my nose around every door and everything would be going smoothly and there was, no crying, happy laughter, happy voices, people engaged, sometimes really quiet, because people are really busy with what they're doing. And you'd walk round and you think, gosh, absolutely not needed. Everybody's doing their thing, and that would be my favourite thing. I would think, that is a job well done now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what was the advice you'd give to anyone looking to own a day nursery?
I think two things really. The first one is definitely find out exactly where you're up to with the government funding. It does change. I've sort of been with it for I don't know how many years, 15 maybe, and I've seen a lot of changes over that time. When a new government comes in, there can be quite a big change, and obviously now a very big part of your income is going to be coming from the funding. So you must sort of know how you're implementing that and how you're implementing your how you're charging for your non-funded hours. So that's a really big thing, I think, just to be certain about your financial model. And then I would say the other thing is you really need good lieutenants. I think every room needs to have one very strong leader and ideally a deputy for that room as well, because they're the ones that day to day actually implement your philosophy, who maintain the standards, who role model to newer staff how to deal with a behavioural issue. They're the ones that go, okay, and start the day and keep the day running to time. And they all need to be autonomously good, and you really need those people because you simply can't be in every room all the time.
Great advice. I think you're absolutely right in terms of funding. There's going to be a CMA investigation, which is looking into that, how local authorities are distributing funding and how operators are running that. So it'll be interesting times ahead to see how the sector faces that. But your point, and a great word to use, lieutenants, I think that's what absolutely on point. When I go to my son's nursery, I notice staff that are really dedicated and want to be there and are fulfilling the task of developing the young children, nurturing them, but also the ethos of the nursery. Mm-hmm. I think that's really important. And then you've got those key individuals.
Yes.
You have other members of support staff that are perhaps not as engaged, and that's okay because they've got a role to fulfill as well. But those lieutenants are the ones that parents create a bond with.
It is, yes. Yeah.
And they're the ones that are trusting their children to be in their care. Yeah. And as long as they're giving the right message, that's going to be absolutely key. So we met when you decided to potentially look to market the business. Mm-hmm. What was the reason for sale? What were you thinking about exiting the sector?
Well, I think one of the things that really influenced my decision was I'd seen somebody who had a nursery who got very sick and had to sell their nursery while they weren't well, and I'd kind of, I don't know, I'd kept kicking the can down the road thinking, well, maybe I'll sell when my two children leave university and things, and I think really, because obviously Christie's was sending marketing information, every month or so, I think it was a spur of the moment thing to almost think, well, I'm going to have to do this within the next 5 years. I don't want to be running this nursery when I'm too old to do it well. So I sort of thought, well, I'll see. I'll put my toe in the water and see what's what. Because I think the thing, and one of the reasons I've agreed to do this video really is I genuinely know how daunting it is when you've run a nursery and you were good at that and you liked that, and you come to the sort of towards the end of the line going, oh my goodness, I do not know how to sell this. This is amazing. This is a huge step, an amazing challenge. I need to find out more. And I think I was very much at that stage thinking, how does one sell a nursery?
Yeah, I think a lot of people probably are thinking about it, and you're right, perhaps they've got a 5-year plan, perhaps shorter than that. But you mentioned something there about operating the nursery to the best of your ability, in effect, and not getting perhaps a little bit older, perhaps not visiting nursery as much, and therefore your message is diluted perhaps a little bit. So timing is absolutely key. And I think when we sat down, it was very much a case of the start of a relationship. Let's see what it's probably worth. You know, Jassi, tell me what the sector's doing at the moment, what values are out there, and just deciding where to go. And I think that's what some operators need to be thinking about. And it could be a 5-year plan, it could be a 10-year plan. And over that time, perhaps they choose to grow and it looks a little bit different when they choose to exit. You know, fortunately for me, you know, it was the right time and we're able to get a really good result. What were the things you had to do to prepare for sale? You know, we spoke quite at length.
Yes.
Were there key things that you could perhaps advise people that may be considering selling?
Well, I mean, to be honest, you did make it very easy. I think obviously you were very instrumental in getting the buyers and the best price, and I think that was the most important thing, because at the minute I thought, gosh, the nursery is worth a bit more than I thought, because I don't think I'm alone in that. I'd never given it any thought. But also because of you knowing so many people in the industry, I really felt very quickly in the process, I thought, gosh, I think we found the best price. It's better than I thought. Yeah. So at that point, really, it was following your lead. It was, okay, Judy, we need the marketing, we need this, we need a lawyer, we need an accountant and all the rest of it. And oh gosh, we did asbestos surveys and energy. I don't know what to call it. That yes, exactly. So we did a lot of that. I would also say the other thing that I did, which was invaluable, was I bought a very fast scanner. I know that sounds stupid, but when you do come to sell, there's so many documents, so many policies, and if you can, rather than use a flatbed scanner, if you can just drop it in the top, 16 pages, come straight out. I think I used a brand called ScanSnap. I'm sure it was a couple of £100. Sort of one of the best £200 I spent, I'd say. So a small detail, but really made a difference. But other than that, I would say I very much took your lead. Yeah, you knew what you were doing, and I was new at this.
I think that's one thing that, you know, colleagues as well, Christie Co, what we're very good at is, of course, starting the relationship at the very start and giving the correct advice. But we do have a single point of contact all the way through.
Yeah, very much so.
The marketing advice is given at the start, and then we're on the journey with you. And it's in everyone's interest, the buyer, you as the seller, and for us to get to completion as quick as possible.
Yes.
And it's trying to make sure that process is as smooth as possible based on the experience that we've had, what that particular buyer has done in the past. For example, there are certain nuances that they work to, and how they like the process to go legally, on the financial due diligence as well. There's various things that they request, and it's trying to make that as stress-free for you as possible, because you're still running a nursery.
Yes.
You still got that.
Yeah.
On the other side. So actually, those weekends, those evenings, there is work to do, absolutely. But if we can try to limit that as much as possible and make it stress-free, then that's what we'd like to do. On that point, is there anything you do differently?
I think, the thing that I learned probably from the process is that you do have to have the right lawyer and the right accountant. I had a great accountant, but they weren't used to selling businesses, and I did have to switch. All very amicable, but it is a different, very different branch of the profession. So that was one thing. And I also think with lawyers, because the legal bills can be high, I think what I learned was you must be very clear about what you want your lawyer to do and what you don't want them to do. because they're very important in terms of going through the infamous SPA, the sales, what's that stand for? Share purchase agreements, about 100 pages of legal stuff. And they're very, very important in terms of getting all your waivers and your future responsibilities sorted. So they're worth their weight in gold in that, but you don't really want them filling out little documents with information that you could have done yourself. It can be expensive. So I think eventually the first lot of lawyers I used were probably too involved in the detail that wasn't legal.
Sure.
The second lot were amazing. Yeah. Very efficient, stayed with the legal things, gave me advice legally, but the bill was very reasonable, even though it was big, for the work they'd done.
Yeah. I think some of these third parties that we introduce, it's not going to be cheap, absolutely. Mm-hmm. But I think you only get one shot at it, and it's trying to get the right advisors. Absolutely, you're right.
Yeah,
trying to ensure that they're batting for you and they're running a process which how you see fit. I think sometimes we come across some operators perhaps are led by fee or led by how can we make this as short as possible, but actually the buyer is going to want that extra detail.
Yes.
And it's ensuring that the people representing you match up to the people that are representing the buyer, especially something substantial like you were selling, but a fantastic reputation. Just ensuring that journey is as smooth as possible. I think that covers all the advice at this point.
I have one thing to add, if I may, Jassi. You were talking about what other thing would I advise, and it is emotionally very hard to keep it a secret, because I'd always been so open and I valued my staff so much, and all of a sudden you're withholding something huge. You know that you're looking after them, that you're transferring them to a good buyer and all their employment contracts, and you're not abandoning them as such, but you're not as honest as you had been previously. And I think obviously I had you supporting me, which was invaluable. As I said, I had a good lawyer and a good accountant, but I think you need somebody at home or a good friend that you can on a Friday night go, oh gosh, and offload you. So I just say, just be aware the emotional toll is a little bit higher than you might think, and just be prepared for that and put things in place.
I think this sector, Christie Co, obviously we sell a range of businesses, but this sector, handful of others, there's that key relationship you have with your staff. Therefore, it will be tricky because they trusted you, you've trusted them for all these years.
Absolutely.
And now you're sort of tiptoeing around. You're doing the things. You're requesting certain bits of information. Absolutely, it can always take its toll, but it's difficult to think very clearly that you're doing the best for them, because you can't continue running the nursery forever. There's got to be a right time
for it. Of course.
But at the same time, you're going to feel bad, with certain bits of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think one thing that we try to do, and we have several conversations around this, is that it's completely normal to feel that way.
Yeah.
And there's lots of other people, and we'll try our best to dampen that a little bit, try to make it as smooth as possible. Viewings out of hours, so that
I know you did.
Yeah.
You did.
But there actually will be times when you're trying to get bits of information, and hang on, Judy's not normally accessed that file or whatever it might be. It can certainly be tricky.
Yes, definitely. But you did help a lot. But that's just one thing I did want to say. It's important to. It was quite stressful, and it was important to have some support at home.
The right emotional state of mind.
Definitely.
And good advice.
Some of it's really practical, but it does help.
You've been really kind with your words about how we work together. Why would you recommend Christie Co? What were the sort of key things that we had working together and from the service that Christie Co provided in helping you to assist with the sale?
Well, I did also approach your competitors, as you know. And the reason I chose Christie's, I think it was very clear that you genuinely really knew all the major players in the market, and that became very apparent very quickly. You did sort of have them all on speed dial as far as I could work out. Yeah. I mean, we had 8 expressions of interest within an incredibly short period of time, didn't we?
One that wanted to get in slightly ahead.
Absolutely, even ahead of the marketing documents. And so I was very impressed with that, because I thought And I still think that because of that, you definitely got the best price. Then I think I was very influenced as well by, it was very professional. You always did what you said you were going to do. I will send you the contract by this evening, and if it was there, it was always sort of very well done. If it was obvious you were busy, which I thought was good. It was obvious you were just selling to other clients as well, but you would always fit me in. It might be, I can't talk right now, but I can talk in an hour. So you always had time for me. I thought we got on well. I think that does really matter. And of course, Christie's has got a great reputation. So I think you and the company Christie's was a clear winner, just in terms of feeling confident. And I can't really explain enough how important it was for me to know I'd got the best price.
Yes.
Because I had no idea what the nursery was worth. Yep. And I think the way you did it in terms of approaching all the main players and a few other not so main players made me think, okay, that's what it's worth. That's what we're doing. I've not missed out.
I think we do that well. We investigate the market to the nth degree to make sure that you are getting the best price.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, we have evidence of what things have sold for in the past, and that's what we base our appraisal on. And sometimes that can be perhaps behind our competitors, but we're safe in the knowledge that the approach should be this in order to get the best price eventually because of the competitive tension. Because although we'll say it's probably worth this based on the knowledge we have, ultimately it's what it's worth to that individual. Yes. The individuals we ended up selling to had another nursery nearby. Actually, this made things a lot easier for them, so it was worth that little bit more to them.
Yes,
on this particular deal. So
I think not having a set price, and I think letting them, when we got to the D-Day, whatever it's called, where you said, okay, right, everybody now, let's have your best bid. And I wish it was nerve-wracking, actually, but then we got a couple of very nice surprises, and it was like, okay, that really is the best price. So that was, I think, the fact that you knew so many people and were clearly able to get the best price. And then, obviously at the start of the process, you don't know how helpful someone's going to be. But, I'm happy to do this film because you were there from the absolute beginning, literally to the last day, and a little bit beyond the last day. So that was all very nice. And I think the fact that I put a couple of my friends in touch with you to sell their nurseries as well probably says it all, really, as to how I felt the service I'd got and how I'd been treated.
Judy, thank you so much. That's been really great to catch up with you.
And you too.
Your words have been really kind, so I really appreciate that.
Well, I was happy with the service, which, as I say, why I'm happy to do this.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.